Mini episode 1026 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FDH Lounge. Rick Morris and Chris Galloway, your FDH Lounge original dignitaries. We're breaking down the NFL division by division, and we're doing the 2018 NFC West right here and now. Prognostications that I made in Fantasy Football Draftology 2018. Don't stand by all of these necessarily, but I don't see a whole lot to change at this point. These were picks I made coming into the preseason games. I've got the Rams at 12-4, as does most of the rest of the world, at least in terms of having them win the division. A year ago, I said Sean McVay was for real coming in. I was very excited about the hire. I think I only had them at 7-9, but if you think back 12 months, 7-9 is a lot higher than most people had the Rams a year ago. So I'm going to take partial credit for seeing this rise coming. And again, Jared Goff, hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. That guy might throw the best deep, tight spiral in the league. Added more stars in the offseason here around them. One of the most fun teams in the league to watch anyways, one of the great emerging stories in the league. This has been a division that has contained, over the course of the 2010s, some of the top stories, if you will, in the league, whether it be Seattle, who I have fading back to 7-9, RIP Legion of Boom, whether it be San Francisco, that in the beginning part of the decade under Harbaugh, with the 3 straight NFC championship game appearances, including 1 Super Bowl appearance. I've got San Fran at 9-7. There's a lot of people that I think are getting a little bit over their skis that are putting them in the playoffs right now. The rebuilding of that roster, to me, is not complete, because that roster really, post-Harbaugh, was about as garbage as anything in the league. And it's getting better, but it's not there yet. Garoppolo did play very well, and quite frankly, better than I thought he would right off the bat. It's not like he's never going to lose another game, though, so let's be careful on making assumptions on that. At 1-15, where I may be getting a little bit controversial here, I think the Cardinals are going to be the worst team in the league. And I think that they're just setting themselves up for failure in a lot of ways. That I think the quarterback situation, there is every chance that Josh Rosen is just going to get thrown to the wolves and possibly devoured out there. Still like David Johnson as one of the best players in the league, regardless of position, but it's the other 52 guys on the roster that I'm kind of worried about. So you have a team that has a chance to be the very best in the league, the Rams. You have the Cardinals that I think are going to be the worst in the league, Chris, and then you've got San Fran and Seattle somewhere in the middle. I don't think most people would disagree with the basic structure of the division, even if people might quibble with my assessments of the 4 teams.
Well, I agree with your overall assessment. To a large degree, I have the Rams winning it. They've got the best division roster in that division by far. Maybe, frankly, they might have the best roster in the entire NFC. You can certainly argue that. I going into today's show, I was very sort of contrary to my mind, going, all the hype on the Rams and all the press and all they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And last year was such a meteoric rise. I can't. How many times have we seen teams star-laden, fat on contracts, huge expectations, came from out of nowhere the year before, and then just lay an absolute, just absolutely shit the bed?
Yeah, true.
And I don't think that's going to happen here. And I'm not going to give a record prediction for the Rams because I'm so torn about. I can see them a little too big in their britches and falling back and ending up, 10-6, and still winning the division, but people going, gee, what happened? And I could also make the argument for 14-2.
Yes.
They're that good. Regardless of where in that range. So let's split the baby and call it 12-4. How's that? There.
That's where I am.
I'll split the baby and call it 12-4. I don't have them going to the Super Bowl, but I do. They are they had is a great, great team. And to me, that's the irony, is that they're going to get all the hype early on, building that big stadium that they're letting the Chargers rent in. And the Chargers are playing down the road in they're playing in a soccer stadium.
JV college soccer stadium.
Playing in front of 1,400 people every week. But I think it's going to be the Chargers that go to the Super Bowl. That said, I think that, there is an outside chance of an all-LA Super Bowl this year. So, the only thing that I'll say is, obviously I like the Rams. They're huge. But I got to tell you, I think the rest of this division has quickly turned into just absolute junk. Not necessarily quickly for the 49ers, but
right.
I'm going to pick Seattle second place because I guess I got to pick somebody in second place.
Right. That's how it works.
But I think the rest of those three teams all have losing records. And I think it's the Rams and then everybody else in whatever order the three come in. It doesn't matter. I agree with you. The San Francisco roster is improved. It's not a playoff roster yet.
No.
And I'm a Jimmy G guy. I've been a Jimmy G guy since he came out of college.
You have been.
A Jimmy G guy.
Right.
But I just, even last year with the little, he won every game, I looked at his stats and I go, he wasn't that great. He made a few good throws, and they sort of, they propped those up in the highlights and the fact that he won. But it's like, okay, he threw 7 TDs and 5 interceptions. Well, extrapolate that over a season, and you're telling me he's going to throw 16 interceptions this year? Like, that, you're not going to be a winning team when your QB is throwing that many interceptions.
Right.
So, and losing their running back for the season, I'm kind of penciling them in this sort of, the hype is there, and then they sort of 6-10 their way. The Seahawks are Russell Wilson. And then I don't know. They have a terrible line. Doug Baldwin, if he can stay healthy, and then what? I mean, the defense is no longer the Legion of Boom. That defense is suspect, I think, in my eyes now. Is Thomas ever coming back? I don't think so. So I look at the Seahawks, and that's another team that I think is just falling off a cliff.
They have.
This might be Pete Carroll's last season in Seattle. That team is sort of imploded. It looked like there was this big window where they were going to be a juggernaut, and then, nope, not happening. Got too interested in social justice and other things, and just sort of, I don't know. I think it's the Pete Carroll way. He runs it fast and loose and loosey-goosey, and he's their Uncle Pete, and, it works for a while, and then it just spins too out of control. It's too loosey-goosey. You need a little tighter ship run. And then, I'm with you on Arizona. I mean, they have some players, and I like Sam Bradford when he's healthy.
Right.
I mean, when he's healthy, he's a top 10 quarterback. The problem is he's never healthy. If he's not healthy, because that line is awful. I mean, I assume Sam Bradford has already gone ahead and prepaid for his knee surgery out of his signing bonus, and has already decided what tropical island he wants to do his rehab on. Because that offensive line is going to get him killed by week 4, and Josh Rosen, who's also made of glass, will be following him up. So I expect by week 12, we'll be on to the 3rd or 4th string quarterback. They'll trade back for Drew Stanton. By that point, the Browns will be comfortable in sending him off and calling up, Brogan Roback or something. So, I mean, they don't have a receiving core. I know Larry Fitzgerald the guy's amazing, but come on, there's not much left in the tank there. He's not Larry Fitzgerald of old. They don't, Dave Johnson. I picked him number 1 in the draft last year, and that was good for 4 plays.
Yeah, me too.
And then my season in fantasy football ended.
Right.
So I love him as a player, and they are going to go to him a lot. He's going to put up some big numbers, but the rest of that team, that offensive line, is just going to get guys killed. And I see them as sort of a 3-13, just train wreck. And that's unfair to those new coaches and stuff, but they're just in a bad situation.
They are. And again, retroactively, we're going to get even more appreciation for Bruce Arians because we're going to see, you've seen the last couple of years with Arizona what the floor is with him. The floor is a lot lower without him. Everybody is left to fend for themselves, essentially, and the natural course of events with a roster that is not very talented top to bottom. You're right about that. We're going to see how it plays out. And Larry Fitzgerald, as much as I hate to say it, the number one thing that's going to be on his highlight reel for 2018 is his very sterling eulogy for John McCain, as opposed to anything he actually does on the field, because nothing he does on the field is going to come even close to that one. But as we look at the NFC picture here, again, I say I have the Rams winning the division, as do you, as do most people out there. I've got the Rams making it as far as the NFC Championship game. As referenced in a previous one here, I've got Minnesota over the Rams in the NFC Championship, a throwback to the 70s and the great rivalries, the great three-way dance of the 70s in the NFC, Dallas, Minnesota, and the Rams. I see Minnesota and the Rams holding up their end of it and making it back to Championship Sunday as they have in the past, and I believe against one another, and I believe more than once. So that will happen again. So I've got Minnesota coming out the NFC, very unimaginative, a real kind of missionary position pick for me. New England coming out of the AFC. I'm going to say Minnesota over New England in the Super Bowl. You've alluded to your Super Bowl teams, Chris, but put it together here.
Yeah, it's my Super Bowl teams. I've got in the NFC, I've got New Orleans. What happened in Minnesota last year, burning inside them like a hot knife. And I think they have the motivation, and I think it's the big last hurrah for Drew Brees. I mean, he's still playing great, but quarterbacks get older. They only get so many bites at the apple, getting to the Super Bowl. So I have the Saints going through. Look, let's be honest. You can make a case in the NFC for half a dozen teams, right?
Yep.
You can. I can make an argument from a roster paper standpoint for the Giants finding a way. And they would be an interesting wager if somebody was in Vegas. But the Eagles you can make an argument for. You could make an argument for the Giants. You can make an argument for the Saints and the Falcons. And you can make an argument for the Rams. And it's very, very competitive in the AFC. I'm sorry, the NFC.
That's right.
In the AFC, I've mentioned I've got the Chargers. I've got the Chargers making it. I think that they are well positioned. I like that roster. Phillip Rivers. The man deserves a Super Bowl. He's been a good quarterback. And I think he gets his Super Bowl win this year with the Chargers defeating the Saints. And in a very, in a really exciting game, I think Phillip Rivers punches his ticket to Canton with a Super Bowl win. And so people will stop talking about, the votes he's going to get. But, boy, is he, he's on the bubble. He gets that ring, he's in, because he's had a good enough career that you can make the argument that that he belongs in Canton, especially if he adds a ring to the mix. And I think this is the year he's going to do it. So
thereby,
I can see them going right into the NFC Championship game with the Saints coming out on top, and then Phillip Rivers and the Chargers getting their way through a weaker AFC and hoisting the Lombardi Trophy at the end.
So Phillip Rivers basically shedding the career comp of Dan Fouts by getting to the big game and winning. Well, we'll have to see if it's your scenario that shakes out, mine, or one of about a million others out there that people are forecasting. Great to go through the NFL with you, as always, my friend. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, my pleasure. Look forward to talking with you as the season goes on.
We will do that. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for our FDH Lounge NFL Divisional Previews.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and The Periodic Table of Elements.